Chapter 10. For a moment, I stood unmoving and unthinking, feeling as though I'd been struck soundly on the brain pan. Then my mind began to react. How could the table book be gone? I clearly remembered putting it in my wallet back on the balcony of the theatre. I turned the wallet upside down and shook it vigorously, as if hoping the book was lodged in some out-of-the-way corner. It was not, of course. I glanced fearfully at Falconer. He was still gazing out over the Thames. Cautiously, I backed towards the playhouse. When I had put several groups of lingering theatre-goers between him and me, I retraced the course I had taken when I emerged so hastily from the playhouse a short time before. I wiped the rain from my eyes and scanned every inch of the soggy ground. If I didn't find the table book soon, it would be a useless mass of pulp. But already I was halfway around the building and had seen nothing but orange peels and apple cores, discarded playbills and ballad sheets. To proceed was to risk encountering the men from whom I'd just escaped. Yet, if it came down to it, I might be better off with them than facing Falconer without the script in my hands. After all, he had killed a man just for calling him a Jew. Though I doubted my fate would be so drastic, the man was unpredictable. Even if all he did was abandon me, that in itself was a frightening prospect. How would I survive in this strange city on my own? I went on, keeping my eyes open both for the table book and for trouble. I came to within a few yards of the rear door and still saw no sign of either. The devil take me, I breathed. It must be inside then. It took me some time to muster the nerve required to pull the door open an inch or two and peer inside. Just as I stuck my face up to the crack, the door flew open, knocking me on the forehead and sending me flying backwards to land on my hucklebones in the mud. Before I could scramble away, a strong hand took my arm and pulled me to my feet. "Well now," a hearty voice said, "what have we here?" Groaning, I held my hand to my afflicted head and squinted at my captor. It was the second gravedigger, the hefty old man who had blocked my way on the stair. "You've brast me custard," I complained. He laughed at my upland speech. "Brast your custard, have I? Well, it serves you right for all your mischief. What are you up to, scuttling about behind the stage like a great rat?" "Me?" I tried to sound as innocent as I might while moaning in pain. "Behind the stage?" The old man laughed again. "Oh, quite the actor, aren't you? Perhaps you belong on the stage and not behind it, eh? Yes, my lad, you're the only one going about in a pudding basin hairstyle and a skirt, I'm afraid." He referred to my knee-length tunic and the bowl-shaped haircut common among country lads. He gently pulled my hand away from my head. "That is a nasty bump you've suffered, though. Come, no use getting drenched into the bargain." Keeping a firm hold on my arm, he led me inside. I considered breaking free and making a run for it. He was, after all, an old man, and I, though slow to sprout, was fleet of foot. But he was also a brawny man, and his grip was as inescapable as Falconer's. My brain, which had always been as fleet as my feet, began to race instead, looking for a way out. What was it the man had said? That I belonged on the stage rather than behind it? Perhaps my salvation lay that way. The old player ushered me through the cluttered area behind the stage into a large windowed room where most of the company stood or sat about in various stages of undress. Several were grimy with soot from the fire, and one man had a large part of his beard singed away. All were rain-soaked, yet they did not appear miserable in the least. Instead, they were laughing and joking as though they had just played a game of bowls and not fought a potentially disastrous fire. The cannoneer, who was cleaning mud from his costume, was the first to notice our entrance. "So," he called over the uproar, "you've caught the dirty dastard, Mr. Pope." My captor set me down on a stool. "Yes, he made the classic mistake of all criminals. He returned to the scene of the crime. I tried to rise, but he pushed me down. I'm no criminal, I protested, wondering if someone had come across my lost table book. A tall, kindly-looking man, who had been Polonius in the play, said, "Oh, of course you're not." I did not recall him stuttering on stage, but he did so now. He bent and looked closely at my bruised forehead. "What did you hit him with, Thomas? Your shovel?" My captor, whose name I gathered was Thomas Pope, looked hurt. "I am not a violent man. The fact is, I opened a door into his head." "A door into his head, eh? I hope his brains didn't spill out." "I'll spill his brains," the cannoneer threatened. "This is the hoddy peak who caused me to miss my aim, Mr. Hemmings, and shoot that wad into the thatch." "I hardly think he is to blame for that," Mr. Hemmings said. "However, it is true that you disrupted our performance. Would you care to explain why?" Though the throbbing in my head had subsided, I went on holding it and grimacing pitifully, but bravely, to play on their sympathies. I meant no harm. I only wished to see the play. "The usual method," Mr. Pope said, "is to pay your penny and stand in front of the stage." "I ken that, but I hae no penny." Mr. Pope clucked his tongue incredulously. "What sort of master would refuse his prentice a penny to see a play?" "Well, the truth is, I hae no master." "You've come to London on your own?" said Mr. Hemmings. "Aye." "For what purpose?" It was time to bring into play the strategy that had been forming in my mind. But not too quickly. "You'll laugh at me." "Not I," Mr. Hemmings assured me. Hesitantly, I said, I want to be a player." True to his word, Mr. Hemmings did not laugh, but several of the others did, and he gave them an exasperated glance. "You truly believe you would want to turn Turk and become like these disreputable whites?" "Aye, by these bones I would." I lied earnestly. In truth, aside from wanting to escape a beating or wanting a meal, I had scarcely ever given any thought to what I wanted. No one had ever asked. "Ah, he's as full of lies as an egg is of meat," Jack the cannoneer said. "I believe him," a voice beside me said. It was the first gravedigger, the man who had crossed swords so briefly with Falconer a few days before. "Though you did lie about not having a master," he reprimanded me, "you told me Dr. Bright was your master. Come, the truth now. You've run off, haven't you?" I hung my head in mock remorse. "Aye." "There now," said the cannoneer. "If he lied about that, how do you know he's telling the truth about wanting to be a player?" "Well," the other man said, "for one thing, he's seen the play before, and talked to me with some enthusiasm about it. Why risk a thrashing in order to see it a second time? And why desert his master and come to London alone unless he has a strong hunger for some food to be found nowhere else?" He looked about at the other players. "You felt that hunger, every mother's son of you. Would you refuse to let him satisfy it?" Mr. Hemmings scratched his beard thoughtfully. "As far as that goes, we could use another boy. Nick's golden voice threatens to turn bass any day now, and his beard to betray him." There was general merriment over this, and the strapping boy who had played the Queen flushed and kicked the shin of the laughing youth next to him. "This is a democratic company. Let us put the matter to a vote. All who favor taking on— What is your name, my young friend?" With no time to concoct a lie, I said, "Widge." Mr. Hemmings' eyebrows raised skeptically. "All who favor taking on Widge as our new prentice?" Most of the hands in the room went up. The cannoneer and the boy named Nick were the sole objectors.
That settles it. Witch, allow me to welcome you to the Lord Chamberlain's company.